Rain tapped against black umbrellas as people gathered around my grave. I stood only a few steps away, close enough to hear every quiet whisper, yet nobody noticed me. My own funeral had begun. A framed photo rested beside the flowers. I smiled in that picture. It almost looked like a different man. I can't believe he's gone. He worked himself to death. He deserved a better life. Their voices drifted through the cold morning air. None of them knew why I had worked until my hands shook. None of them knew how many dreams I buried before they buried me. My parents held each other, trying to stay strong. Ryan stood near the back with his head lowered. His shoulders barely moved, but I knew he was crying. Then my eyes searched for only one person. Olivia. She arrived late. A pair of dark sunglasses hid her eyes. Her black dress looked perfect, untouched by the rain. She placed a white rose beside my coffin, stayed there for only a moment, then stepped back without saying a word. No tears, no goodbye, only silence. That silence hurt more than death itself. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask why. Instead, I watched the coffin disappear beneath the earth. The world around me slowly faded. Then memories rushed back like crashing waves. 10 years earlier, the apartment smelled of cold pasta and burnt garlic. Dinner sat on the table exactly where I had left it before going to work. I smiled anyway. Maybe Olivia had simply fallen asleep. Maybe she was tired. Maybe tomorrow would be better. I warmed the food in the microwave and checked my phone. 8 unread messages. None from my wife. Most came from clients asking for updates. One came from Ryan. Still at the office? You need a break, man. I typed a quick reply. Almost home. Everything's fine. It wasn't. I just didn't want to admit it. The bedroom door stayed half open. The lights were off. Olivia wasn't there. My phone buzzed again. A social media notification appeared. Someone had tagged Olivia in a photo. She stood inside an expensive restaurant. Across the table sat Daniel Hayes. Both of them smiled while raising glasses. The caption read, "Celebrating new beginnings." I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Maybe it was business. Maybe I was overthinking. That became my favorite lie. Hours later, the apartment door finally opened. Olivia walked inside wearing a beautiful dress I had never seen before. She froze when she noticed me still awake. "You're home." Her voice sounded more surprised than happy. "I wanted us to have dinner." I pointed toward the untouched plates. She glanced at them for barely a second. "I already ate." The answer landed like a stone. I called. "You were busy." My phone never rang. A small pause. "I forgot." She walked past me toward the bedroom. No hug. No kiss. No question about my day. Only tired footsteps. I stood beside the cold table, wondering when home had started feeling like a waiting room. The days became weeks. The weeks became months. I worked longer hours because Olivia wanted a better apartment, a better car, a better future. Whenever I earned more money, the finish line somehow moved farther away. Ryan invited me out one evening. "You've missed every birthday, every game night, every holiday." He leaned back in his chair. "When was the last time Olivia thanked you?" I laughed. "Marriage isn't about keeping score." His smile disappeared. "No, it's about not becoming invisible." I brushed off his warning. Love meant sacrifice. At least, that's what I believed. Then came our anniversary. I booked a quiet restaurant overlooking the river. I even left work early. That almost never happened. The waiter filled my water glass 3 times. The candle burned lower. Every few minutes, I checked my phone. No message. No apology. Nothing. After 2 hours, I paid the bill and walked outside alone. Rain began falling before I reached my car. My phone finally lit up. "Busy tonight. We'll celebrate another day." No heart. No smile. Just 12 careless words. Something inside me cracked. Still, I forgave her. Again. A few days later, I returned home early after forgetting an important file. The apartment was quiet. Olivia's voice drifted from the study. She was laughing. Not the polite laugh she gave strangers. The real one. The one I hadn't heard in years. The door wasn't fully closed. I stopped without making a sound. Daniel's voice came through the speaker. "So, when are you finally leaving him?" Olivia didn't answer right away. The silence felt endless. Then she sighed. "Ethan is kind." Another pause. "But kindness doesn't build the life I want." My heartbeat became painfully loud. Daniel chuckled. You're wasting your best years. I know. And once my investment deal is finished. She hesitated. I'll tell him. The room spun around me. She kept talking. I almost feel guilty. He gave me everything. Daniel laughed again. Everything except the future you deserve. Their laughter mixed together. I couldn't breathe. My hand slipped from the file. It hit the floor. The voices stopped. The study door opened. Olivia stared at me. The color drained from her face. Ethan, I stepped inside. So this is the future. She reached toward me. It's not what you think. I smiled without feeling anything. I heard enough. You were supposed to hear it later. Those words hurt even more. Later. She had already planned every step. I was simply the last person invited to my own ending. I stayed because I believed in us. You've changed. No. My fingers slowly twisted the wedding ring. I finally see you. The ring rested in my palm for a moment. Years of promises. Years of excuses. Years of pretending. I placed it on the desk between us. She stared at it but didn't reach for it. I never wanted this. But you chose it. Daniel quietly ended the call. Even he knew there was nothing left to say. I walked toward the front door. Behind me came hurried footsteps. Ethan, wait. My hand stopped on the handle. Part of me begged to turn around. Begged to hear something that could fix everything. Nothing came. Only quiet breathing. I opened the door and stepped into the storm. Rain blurred every streetlight. Cars rushed through the night. My phone vibrated again and again. Unread messages filled the screen. Olivia, Olivia, Olivia. Hours earlier, I would have answered the first ring. Now every vibration felt empty. Headlights suddenly exploded across the wet road. Brakes screamed. A sharp flash. Weightlessness. Then darkness. A loud gas tore through my chest. I sat upright. My heart pounded so hard it almost hurt. Morning sunlight poured through old curtains. The tiny apartment. The worn sofa. The peeling paint on the wall. I knew this place. I had lived here 10 years ago. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone. The date glowed on the screen. 10 years earlier. Before the wedding. Before the betrayal. Before I buried myself, trying to save someone who had already let me go. Tears filled my eyes, but this time, they carried something different. Not grief. Not fear. A chance. I looked around the small apartment, took one long breath, and whispered the promise that would change everything. This time, I won't beg anyone to stay. The alarm rang at 6. In my old life, I would have rolled out of bed already thinking about Olivia. What gift should I buy? What dream of hers should I help pay for next? How could I make her happier? This morning, I turned off the alarm and smiled at the ceiling. The answer was simple. I couldn't. Not because I didn't love her, because she had already decided that my love would never be enough. That truth still hurt. It just didn't control me anymore. My notebook sat inside the top drawer of my desk. The cover looked worn. Inside were pages filled with business ideas I had once buried beneath overtime shifts and wedding plans. I slowly flipped through them. Software for small businesses, cloud security, data management, ideas that would become billion-dollar products years later. I already knew which ones worked. This time, I wouldn't hand my future away. My phone buzzed. Ryan, you alive? A laugh escaped before I answered. Barely. Coffee. 30 minutes. The little cafe hadn't changed. Same cracked windows. Same old radio. Ryan walked in carrying 2 cups. He froze halfway to the table. You actually look rested. I slept well. He narrowed his eyes. That's suspicious. I laughed. You always think something's wrong. Because usually there is. He pushed 1 cup toward me. So what's going on? I rested both hands around the warm coffee. I've been thinking. Dangerous. I'm serious. I know. His smile faded. You've got that face. What face? The one that shows up before you make a huge decision. I took a slow breath. I'm starting my own company. His eyebrows lifted. The software idea? I nodded. I thought you gave that up. I almost did. Almost. Not this time. Ryan leaned forward. Then what's stopping you? I stared through the cafe window. Nothing. Nothing except fear. Nothing except memories. I don't want to waste another year. He didn't understand those words the way I did. Still, he smiled. Then don't. That simple answer felt heavier than a long speech. He extended his hand across the table. I'm in. You haven't even heard the business plan. I don't need to. You trust me that much. I trust the guy who worked nights helping everyone else. His grin returned. It's about time you helped yourself. Something inside me grew stronger. Not louder. Steadier. The next few weeks became a race against time. I filed paperwork. Called old contacts. Met investors before they became famous. Every choice I remembered from my previous life became another step forward. The future no longer surprised me. It became my map. Then Olivia called. Her name lit up my phone. Once that single name could erase every bad day. Now I simply watched it ring. It stopped. A message appeared. Can we meet? I typed one word. Sure. She chose our usual restaurant. The place where I once imagined proposing. She arrived 15 minutes late. Designer sunglasses rested on her head. A shopping bag hung from one arm. Sorry. She slipped into the chair. Busy day. I nodded. No problem. A waiter brought menus. She barely opened hers. You've been acting strange lately. Have I? No flowers. No random gifts. You even forgot to call yesterday. I was working. You always worked. Not like this. She folded her arms. Is something bothering you? I studied her face. In another life, I would have hidden my feelings just to keep the peace. Not anymore. I've been thinking about us. Her smile returned. I knew it. You finally picked a wedding date. My heart stayed calm. No. The smile slowly disappeared. I don't think we should get married. The words landed between us. She blinked once. Then twice. A short laugh escaped her lips. You're joking. I'm not. She waited. The joke never came. What happened? I changed. No. Her voice sharpened. People don't wake up one morning and end an engagement. They do when they realize they've ignored too many warning signs. She frowned. What warning signs? I almost answered. The forgotten dinners. The cold messages. Daniel. The betrayal waiting years ahead. Instead, I simply shook my head. It doesn't matter anymore. It matters to me. Does it? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. That silence told me more than any explanation could. Her fingers tapped against the table. This is because I've been busy. No. You've always supported my career. I did. And now you're punishing me? I'm choosing myself. Those 4 words surprised even me. She stared as though she had never met me before. You'll regret this. Maybe. You'll come back. She leaned closer. You always do. Not this time. I reached into my bag. The engagement papers rested inside. Unsigned. Unchanged. I placed them gently on the table. I've already spoken with the lawyer. Her eyes widened. You planned this. I finally planned something for myself. She pushed the papers back. I'm not signing those. You don't have to today. You think this is some lesson? No. It's goodbye. She laughed again. This one sounded forced. You can't live without me. The old Ethan couldn't. This version already had. I stood. The chair slid quietly across the floor. I hope you find everything you're looking for. She didn't stop me. Maybe she believed I would return tomorrow. Maybe she thought love had made me weak forever. She was about to discover the difference between love and self-respect. That evening, I returned to our apartment. Half the furniture belonged to me. Half the memories belonged to both of us. Neither felt worth carrying anymore. A suitcase lay open across the bed. Shirts, books, old photographs. Every item seemed lighter than before. One picture caught my attention. Olivia and I stood beside the ocean. She laughed while I watched her instead of the camera. I smiled sadly. The photo wasn't fake. The happiness had been real. It simply hadn't lasted. I slipped the picture into a drawer instead of my suitcase. Some memories deserved to stay behind. The apartment slowly became empty. The walls echoed with every step. Near the door, my phone buzzed again. Olivia. Another message. You're overreacting. Call me tomorrow. I read it once. Then opened my contacts. Her name remained at the top. My thumb hovered over the screen. One tap. Delete contact? Yes. The phone returned to its silent home screen. No dramatic music. No shaking hands. Just one quiet decision. Outside, the evening air felt cooler than usual. Ryan waited beside his car. He noticed the suitcase. So, it's over. He nodded without asking questions. You okay? I looked back one last time. The apartment windows reflected the setting sun. It hurts. I know, but also feels honest. He placed my suitcase in the trunk. That's a good place to start. 3 months passed. Our company grew faster than anyone expected. Meetings filled my calendar. Investors returned my calls within hours. The dream I once abandoned was finally becoming real. One invitation stood out among dozens. A national technology conference. The biggest names in the industry would be there. I adjusted my tie before walking into the crowded hall. Conversations filled the room. Ideas floated through the air. This was where my future truly began. While reaching for a cup of coffee, someone else reached for it at the same moment. A gentle laugh broke the awkward pause. You can have it. I turned toward the voice. Warm eyes. A calm smile. No expensive jewelry. No mask. Just quiet kindness. I'm Grace, she said, offering her hand. For reasons I couldn't explain, the noise around us suddenly faded. The applause inside the conference hall faded into the background. Grace still held the paper coffee cup with both hands. A calm smile rested on her face, the kind that never looked forced. So, she began, are you here to impress investors or survive the free coffee? A laugh escaped before I could stop it. I was hoping to do both. Ambitious. She took a small sip. I like ambitious people. Most conversations in my old life had felt like interviews. How much money did I make? How fast could I earn more? What could I give? Grace asked something different. What problem are you trying to solve? That simple question caught me off guard. Not what I wanted to sell. Not what I wanted to own. The problem. My software helps small businesses organize everything in one place. Her eyes brightened. So you're building something that helps people instead of showing off. I hope so. Then don't lose that. Those words stayed with me long after the conference ended. The next 6 months disappeared beneath meetings, deadlines, and sleepless nights. This time the exhaustion felt different. Every late evening belonged to my own dream instead of someone else's future. Ryan dropped another stack of contracts onto my desk. 3 new investors. He stretched his arms. I still can't believe this. I smiled while signing the papers. I can. He raised an eyebrow. Confident now. I've wasted enough years doubting myself. He nodded slowly. I like this version of you. So do I. Our office wasn't large. The paint needed work. The chairs didn't match. Nobody cared. Ideas filled every corner. Hope filled the rest. Grace started visiting every few weeks. She worked as an architect, but she always found time to stop by. Sometimes she brought coffee. Sometimes sandwiches. Once she arrived, carrying nothing except a notebook. I've been thinking about your office. I laughed. That sounds dangerous. She opened the notebook. It's too crowded. She pointed toward a rough sketch. If people feel comfortable here, they'll create better ideas. You designed this? She nodded. Only if you want it. I studied the drawing. Bright windows. Open workspaces. Places where people could actually breathe. It's beautiful. Her cheeks turned slightly pink. I hoped you'd say that. She never tried to tell me who I should become. She simply reminded me who I already was. Across town, another story slowly began falling apart. I didn't see it with my own eyes. I heard pieces through mutual friends. Daniel promised Olivia luxury, business trips, exclusive parties, fast success. The promises became excuses. The trips became long nights without answers. The expensive gifts slowly stopped. One afternoon, Ryan walked into my office carrying his phone. You remember Daniel? I wish I didn't. He just canceled another investment. What happened? Ryan shrugged. People say he's moving money around. That sounded familiar. In my previous life, Daniel's company collapsed years later. This time the cracks had appeared much sooner. Choices create different futures. Some just arrive faster than others. Late one evening, I stayed alone at the office. The employees had already gone home. Computer screens rested in darkness. Only my desk lamp remained. An old cardboard box sat beneath the bookshelf. While searching for documents, I found my first business notebook. The same notebook I had opened after waking in my younger body. Its pages were filled with dreams. Some were now becoming reality. Others had never been attempted. A folded envelope slipped onto the desk. My name covered the front in Olivia's handwriting. The date stopped me. My birthday, 1 year before our breakup. I slowly opened it. Inside rested a brand new watch. Still wrapped. Still untouched. An unopened gift. Along with it came a tiny note. Sorry I couldn't celebrate tonight. We'll make new memories soon. I smiled sadly. That soon had never arrived. The watch stayed inside the box. Some gifts lose their meaning when time runs out. Weeks later, our company appeared in business magazines. Investors competed for meetings. Articles praised my vision. Photos filled the internet. Then another message arrived. Not from Grace. Not from Ryan. Olivia. The preview appeared on my screen. Congratulations. Nothing else. I didn't answer. Hours later, another message appeared. Can we talk? Still nothing. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Returned again. Finally, one last sentence. I've been thinking about us. I placed the phone face down. Some conversations belong to the past. A mutual friend invited me to a charity dinner. Olivia attended. So did Daniel. The room sparkled with expensive suits and crystal glasses. Their smiles looked perfect from a distance. Closer, the cracks became obvious. Daniel answered 3 phone calls before the meal ended. Olivia barely touched her food. She noticed me across the room. Our eyes met only briefly. Something had changed. Not just in me, in her. Later that evening, I stepped outside for fresh air. The city lights reflected across the river. Footsteps approached behind me. Ethan. I turned. Olivia stopped a few feet away. You've been avoiding me. I've been living. She lowered her eyes. I've read every old message you ever sent. I stayed quiet. There were hundreds. Another pause. I never answered most of them. No, I didn't realize. Her voice faded. How much you were trying. Wind moved a loose strand of hair across her face. She didn't brush it away. I found her old notebook. That caught my attention. The business ideas. She swallowed carefully. They were incredible. I know. You gave them up. I did. For me. I nodded once. Her shoulders dropped. I thought you lacked ambition. A bitter smile crossed my face. I had ambition. I just pointed it in the wrong direction. She closed her eyes for a moment. I've been so blind. Daniel's voice echoed from inside the building. Olivia. She turned toward the entrance. Then back toward me. I should go. You already did. The words weren't cruel. Only honest. She stood there another second before walking away. This time she didn't look confident. She looked uncertain. Regret doesn't arrive all at once. It grows quietly, one memory at a time. A month later, Grace invited me to see one of her completed buildings. Sunlight poured through giant windows. People laughed inside bright open spaces she had designed. What do you think? I walked slowly across the polished floor. It feels alive. She smiled. That's always the goal. We sat outside afterward with coffee. She watched children playing across the park. You've built an amazing company. I'm trying. Is it making you happy? The question lingered longer than expected. I don't know. You hesitated. I've spent so much time proving people wrong. She turned toward me. What happens after you've proven enough? I didn't have an answer. She reached in her bag and pulled out a small photograph. Our office. Everyone smiling after signing our biggest contract. You weren't looking at the camera. What was I looking at? Your team. She handed me the picture. You looked proud. Not rich. Not powerful. Proud. Success suddenly felt different. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about building something worth protecting. That evening, I returned to headquarters after everyone had gone home. The office stood completely empty. Rows of desks stretched beneath soft lights. The quiet no longer felt lonely. It felt earned. I stood beside the window, watching traffic far below. A movement outside caught my attention. Someone waited near the front entrance. Hands folded tightly together. Head lowered. Olivia. She looked smaller than I remembered. Tired. Nervous. When I stepped outside, she managed a weak smile. I won't keep you long. She took a careful breath. Can you give me 5 minutes? Olivia stood outside my company with both hands wrapped around a paper cup. The coffee had gone cold. She hadn't taken a single sip. Streetlights painted long shadows across the sidewalk as I stopped a few steps away. You wanted 5 minutes. She nodded. I've practiced this conversation 100 times. A weak smile appeared for only a second. None of them sounded right. I waited. The silence gave her room to continue. I thought success meant leaving people behind. Her fingers tightened around the cup. I confused ambition with happiness. The words came slowly, as if each one weighed more than the last. I believed you would always be there. You never had to wonder if I would. I know. Her eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. That's exactly why I stopped appreciating you. A passing car filled the quiet before disappearing into the night. I wanted someone exciting. Her voice almost disappeared. I never realized steady love was the rarest thing I would ever lose. I listened without interrupting. Months earlier, those words would have shattered me. Now, they simply felt late. Daniel isn't who I believed he was. I know. She frowned. You already knew? I knew enough. She studied my face, searching for answers I could never explain. I can't change what happened. No, I only wanted you to know the truth. I believe you. Relief briefly softened her expression. Then she noticed something. You forgave me. I did. Hope suddenly filled her eyes. But forgiveness isn't the same as going back. That hope disappeared almost instantly. She lowered her head. I deserve that. Neither of us moved. The wind carried dry leaves across the sidewalk. I hope you find peace, Olivia. She nodded once. So do I. She walked away without asking for another chance. That choice told me she finally understood. Some doors close because they must. Life kept moving. Our company doubled in size, then doubled again. New offices opened across the country. Business magazines called us the fastest-growing technology company of the year. Ryan walked into my office holding another newspaper. You're on the front page again. I'd rather be on vacation. He laughed. You've officially become boring. I'll take boring over broke. He dropped into the chair across from me. Remember when this office had one desk and two broken chairs? We couldn't even afford decent coffee. We couldn't afford coffee. We both laughed. Those memories felt richer than any headline. Success had stopped feeling like revenge. It felt like responsibility. Grace remained beside me through every victory and every setback. One evening, the power failed across half the building. Everyone rushed home. We stayed. Emergency lights covered the office in a soft orange glow. She rolled up her sleeves and helped move equipment by flashlight. You don't have to do this. She shrugged. Neither do you. This is my company. She smiled. And these are my friends. That simple answer warmed me more than the coffee in my hands. Hours later, the lights returned. Our team cheered. Grace brushed dust from her jacket. You know, she glanced around the room. I've never admired someone because they became successful. What about me? I admired you long before success found you. Those words settled deep inside me. Not because they sounded romantic, because they were true. Meanwhile, Daniel's empire started collapsing. News reports appeared almost every day. Missing money, fake contracts, secret accounts. One morning, Ryan turned the television toward me. You're going to want to see this. Reporters crowded outside Daniel's headquarters. Employees carried boxes through the front doors. Investors shouted questions. Nobody answered. Then another familiar face appeared on the screen. Olivia. She walked toward the microphones, holding a folder against her chest. The reporters rushed closer. Ms. Brooks, did you know about the fraud? Are you involved? She closed her eyes briefly before speaking. I spent months hiding from my mistakes. The crowd became quiet. I won't hide anymore. She opened the folder. I brought every document I have. Gasps spread through the reporters. I introduced clients to Daniel. Her voice trembled but never broke. I believed in him. She swallowed hard. I was wrong. Camera flashes lit the street. I won't protect lies any longer. One reporter stepped forward. Why speak now? She took a slow breath. Because someone once loved me enough to always tell the truth. Another pause. I didn't deserve that love. She handed the documents to investigators. The cameras kept flashing. She never looked away. By evening, every news channel carried the same headline. Business empire falls after whistleblower testimony. Daniel disappeared before police arrived. 2 days later, they found him after suffering a heart attack while trying to flee the country. The hospital released only a short statement. Critical condition. Financial crimes under investigation. A week afterward, I received an unexpected phone call. The hospital needed someone to sign a consent form for one of Daniel's business records tied to our company. I walked through bright white hallways that smelled of medicine. Outside his room sat Olivia. She held a folded hospital consent form. Dark circles rested beneath her eyes. You came. I needed to finish the paperwork. She nodded quietly. I never imagined life ending like this. Neither had I. She stared through the window into Daniel's room. I chased the man I thought had everything. A bitter smile crossed her face. He didn't even have honesty. The nurse returned with another document. Olivia signed without hesitation. The paper shook slightly beneath her hand. Watching her, I realized karma wasn't loud. It didn't always arrive with dramatic speeches. Sometimes it looked like a tired woman signing papers in a hospital corridor after losing everything she once believed mattered. A few days later, she visited my office one final time. She carried a small velvet box. I found this while cleaning. She placed it on my desk. Inside rested the engagement ring. Untouched. I should have returned it long ago. I gently closed the lid. You don't owe me anything. I owe you more than I can repay. She stood there for another moment. My apartment feels empty now. She gave a sad laugh. I took down every photograph. I remember the picture I had left behind months ago. Some memories become too heavy to keep on the wall. I hope one day those empty spaces become new beginnings. She smiled through tired eyes. I hope the same for you. When she left, she didn't turn around. Neither did I. Weeks later, invitations arrived for the National Innovation Awards. Our company had been nominated for the highest honor. The ballroom overflowed with entrepreneurs, investors, reporters, and cameras. Ryan adjusted his tie beside me. Nervous? A little. You've spoken in front of thousands. This feels different. Grace gently straightened my collar. You don't have to impress anyone. I know. Just tell the truth. Those 3 words reminded me how far I'd come. Across the room, I noticed Olivia sitting alone near the back. She offered a small nod. Nothing more. Nothing less. The host announced my name. The audience erupted into applause. I rose from my chair and walked toward the stage. Bright lights covered the room. The microphone waited only a few steps ahead. I stopped, took one steady breath, and prepared to tell everyone the story of the life I had almost lost. The spotlight felt warm against my face. Hundreds of people filled the ballroom. Some knew my company. Some knew my success. None of them knew the man I almost became. The applause slowly faded. I rested both hands on the podium. A deep breath settled the last of my nerves. When people look at success, they usually see the finish line. The room grew quiet. They don't see the nights when quitting feels easier. A few heads nodded. They don't see the mistakes, the heartbreak, the people who walk away. I paused, letting those words settle. I spent years believing love meant giving everything until nothing was left. My eyes wandered across the audience. Ryan smiled proudly. Grace watched with calm confidence. Near the back, Olivia sat silently with both hands folded in her lap. I thought sacrificing my dreams made me a good man. A gentle smile crossed my face. It didn't. It only taught me the difference between love and losing myself. Nobody moved. Nobody reached for a phone. Every face remained fixed on the stage. I stand here because I finally believed in my own future. The award rested beside the microphone, shining, heavy, beautiful. But this company isn't my greatest achievement. I turned toward the front row. Grace looked surprised. My greatest achievement was learning that real love never asks me to stop becoming myself. The audience erupted into applause. Grace lowered her eyes, smiling as if she wished nobody had noticed her. That quiet humility reminded me why I loved her. I accepted the award, not as proof that I had defeated anyone, as proof that I had finally stopped defeating myself. The months that followed brought more success than I had ever imagined. Our company expanded overseas. Employees joined from around the world. The numbers on financial reports grew larger every quarter. People started calling me a billionaire. The title never felt as important as they imagined. One early morning, I arrived at headquarters before sunrise. The building stood empty. Golden light slowly climbed over the city. Glass windows reflected the first colors of a new day. I stood outside with a cup of coffee. Years earlier, I had stood outside another building wondering why love wasn't enough. Now I stood here understanding that peace felt far richer than revenge. Ryan joined me a few minutes later. You always beat me here. I like the quiet. He looked toward the rising sun. Remember that tiny office? I remember wondering if we'd survive another month. And now, I smiled. Now I'm wondering how to stay grateful. He laughed. Good. Money changes a lot of people. I don't want it changing me. He patted my shoulder. So don't let it. Simple advice. Exactly the kind that had always mattered most. A few weeks later, Grace invited me to the park where we had shared our first long conversation. Autumn leaves covered the walking path. Children laughed near the lake. She carried a small paper bag. I brought something. What is it? You'll see. She pulled out the old office photograph, the one where I wasn't looking at the camera. You've kept this all this time? She nodded. Because this is the moment I knew. Knew what? Her smile softened. That success would never become your heart. I stared at the picture. Every person inside, it looked hopeful. Every dream still felt new. I have something too. A small velvet box rested inside my coat pocket. Grace noticed it immediately. Her eyes widened. Is that? I opened it. A simple ring. Nothing flashy. Nothing designed to impress strangers. Only a promise. I've had a second chance at life. My voice grew quieter. I don't want to waste another chance at love. She covered her mouth with one hand. A tear escaped before she could stop it. Not from sadness. From relief. You've already made my life better. She slipped her hand into mine. I don't need a perfect future. I only need an honest one. The ring caught the afternoon sunlight as I placed it on her finger. She laughed through happy tears. I was hoping you'd ask. Our wedding took place 3 months later. No giant ballroom. No endless guest list. Only family. Close friends. People who had stood beside us instead of standing above us. The ceremony happened in a quiet garden. Flowers moved gently in the breeze. Birds filled the morning with soft songs. Ryan adjusted my tie one last time. Nervous? A little. Good. He grinned. It means this matters. Music began playing. Grace walked toward me. She wore a simple white dress. Nothing about her tried to demand attention. She never needed to. She already had my whole heart. When she reached me, neither of us rushed to speak. Our smiles carried everything words couldn't. The minister finished the vows. Grace slipped a new wedding ring onto my hand. Its weight felt completely different from the last one I had worn. Not because the metal had changed, because I had. The photographer gathered everyone together after the ceremony. One more picture. Family surrounded us. Ryan stood beside me. My parents smiled brighter than I had seen in years. Grace squeezed my hand. The camera flashed. A new family photograph. Not built on fear. Not built on sacrifice. Built on trust. During the reception, I stepped onto the balcony for a moment alone. Soft music drifted through the open doors. The evening sky glowed orange. Movement near the garden gate caught my attention. Olivia stood outside the fence. She hadn't entered. She hadn't interrupted. She simply watched from a respectful distance. Our eyes met. She smiled. It was small, gentle, peaceful. She gave one quiet nod. No apology. No request. No hope of changing the past. Only acceptance. I returned the nod. Inside my heart, I wish something I never thought possible. I hope you find happiness. Real happiness. Not the kind built on status. The kind built on truth. She turned and walked away. This time I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel victory. Only closure. Some stories end because love disappears. Ours ended because respect had disappeared first. Later that night, my phone vibrated. An unknown number. One message appeared. Congratulations. I truly mean it. Take care of the life you chose. I recognized the words immediately. Olivia. I read them once. A calm smile settled across my face. Then I locked the screen. The message remained unread in every way that mattered. Some conversations deserve an ending instead of another reply. Grace stepped onto the balcony, carrying 2 glasses of sparkling cider. There you are. I needed one quiet minute. She handed me a glass. Everything okay? I looked down at the wedding ring resting on my hand. The answer came easier than ever before. Everything finally makes sense. She leaned gently against my shoulder. The celebration continued behind us. Laughter, music, hope. None of it felt borrowed. Every piece belonged to the life we had built together. I thought about the funeral where this journey had begun. The lonely spirit standing beside his own grave. The man who believed his worth depended on someone choosing him. That man no longer existed. Pain had changed me. Love had healed me. Self-respect had saved me. I looked toward the stars beginning to appear above the garden. Gratitude filled every quiet corner of my heart. I was reborn with memories of losing everything. In the end, the greatest gift wasn't my second life. It was finally choosing myself before choosing anyone else.